The information provided in this podcast is educational and not intended to diagnose or treat medical conditions.
Dr. Doni Wilson struggled for decades to solve her numerous health issues and heal her body. But with focused determination, she healed herself. And in doing so, she discovered the Dr. Doni Stress Recovery Protocol. On this show, you're going to hear from doctors, nutritionists, and experts, along with Dr. Doni, who will give practical advice and wisdom to help heal your body. This is How Humans Heal. Hey guys, this episode is from one of Dr. Doni's live Facebook streams where she answered listeners' questions live on Facebook.
Welcome, Razi. I'm so glad to be getting to have this conversation with you on Facebook Live. This is my good friend, Razi Berry, and I think we've known each other for, I don't know, at least 15 years, maybe more than that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we have. I remember when you were kind of heading up the licensure efforts in New York.
Mm-hmm. And and you were just starting NDNR. Razi's been publishing this, I call it like a journal. I don't know if you, like a publicated paper for 15 years, which is really long time. It's a monthly publication. That means articles from naturopathic doctors around the country who submit articles, and then your team puts it together into a printed paper journal that you then ship out to a bunch of people, thousands of people, I suppose, every month. Mm-hmm. And really, you're not a naturopathic doctor. You're a naturopathic patient advocate, right? It's just
I'm waiting for my honorary indeed.
I mean, you've learned a lot over the years from reading all these articles, I'm sure. And it's just amazing because, I mean, the thought that you had a health experience yourself that inspired you. Tell me more about that. Remind me how that went, where you got so inspired.
So I grew up in a very allopathically minded home. So we would get vaccinated, antibiotics. My mom thought that all of these conventional methods, that was the right thing to do. And in some cases, conventional methods are the right things to do. But I found myself sick in my early 20s. I had a really great career and felt good and was, what I thought was on top of everything. And then I suddenly just lost all my vitality. I started having horrible migraines and my hormones were irregular, and I was having some anxiety and a lot of pain. Mm-hmm. I would lose vision in my eye. I would get paresthesias or numbness on one part of my body. So I went to different doctors, and the endocrinologist told me to go on disability. Mm-hmm. She and the OBGYN said I would never have children.
Oh my gosh.
And then the Mayo Clinic told me, take all of these pills. And I finally said, look, I don't want to take all these pills. They're not making me better. These pills wear off, mm-hmm. and I'm not any healthier. So mm-hmm. then the doctor told me it was all in my head, really, that I should see a psychiatrist for not wanting to take the pain meds. Mm. And at that point, she told me that it was all in my head.
Oh my gosh.
So I went and I decided to take it into my own hands, and I found naturopathic medicine. And it was, I sometimes like to say, it's like the sky opened up and I could hear the angels sing, because here was a doctor who believed my symptoms, looked at my test results in a wider, more holistic way, right? Mm-hmm. Not what's normal or abnormal, but what's, healthy. Mm-hmm. And taught me how my relationships, how my lifestyle, how I live my daily life, how that all impacted my health. Mm. I remember hearing about, how my gut was contributing to all this, 20 years ago, and now it's kind of like the new thing. Mm-hmm. So after that, it helped me heal, and I became so evangelical. It was like I couldn't believe that more people didn't know about this. And I'd met people at the clinics who were just falling apart from the medications and not living their life. And I wanted to just share. It's kind of like when you see a movie that really touches you, or you read a book and you want to tell everyone about it. Mm-hmm. That's how it was. So at the time I realized that there were journals that included some naturopathic medicine, but they weren't all encompassing of naturopathic medicine. So I decided to start one, and that was 15 years ago. And now we've published more than 2,000 cases from naturopathic doctors, in the US and Canada and really around the world. And what I think is so important about that is the cases, are different than research. Like a lot of people will look at research and then design a protocol around that. And that's just a small sample of averages and such. Whereas the cases, the doctors are really one-on-one working with an individual patient through the whole process of how they present to you, how you decide what the treatment plan should be, what the outcomes are of the treatment plan. So I think it's really a realistic way, a real life, an IRL, hashtag IRL, right? In real life way to learn about healing and to learn about naturopathy.
Wow. It's really something. And I feel so grateful to you for, just following your passion and your creativity and creating that possibility, that information for people to learn about naturopathic medicine and what they can, how they can access it. So I just think, that's so awesome. And I feel so grateful to you. And now you're creating this Love is Medicine project. So how does that relate? How is it different? What is your vision with it?
Yeah. So many of us have experienced where we're doing all the right things, we think, like we're eating right or we're taking the supplements, but we still don't feel good. Or in my case, when, when like stressors come along or like loss, my sister and my father died really close to each other, and I went through a divorce. So these were three major life changes that even though I was exercising and I was eating right, and I was taking my supplements, my symptoms recurred. I had to take a step back from what I learned from all these cases of naturopathic medicine that honored the vital force, this innate ability to heal and our vitality. And I kind of noticed some patterns after reading all these cases that there are some reasons, illness isn't random. We think that this is just, we don't know where it comes from, but we kind of do. And Love is Medicine is how to connect back to these three sources of love and vitality. That's why it's called the Love is Medicine project. And what they are is, one is disconnection from the self. So I call them like diseases where we look away. Like we look away from the little signs that like maybe we shouldn't be acting in these ways. Maybe we shouldn't be drinking like a sugary caffeine drink through a drive-through every morning to start our day. Maybe we shouldn't be trying to scrape by on 5.5 hours of sleep. Maybe we shouldn't be, starving ourselves or overeating ourselves into an eating disorder or diabetes. Maybe we shouldn't be yelling at our children in a way that they're going to be traumatized and have an autoimmune disease someday. So it's the way that we don't listen to what our body's messages are and these symptoms. And the reason I call that love is because your symptoms and the messages and your intuition are all love letters from yourself. And when we connect back into that, it's easier to not only make the right choices for ourselves and to stick with programs that people give to us, but when we're bombarded with this barrage of like books and webinars and protocols and even summits, and I've put on summits of how to live your life, nobody can make that choice except for you. Nobody can tell you how to eat, sleep, drink, move, right? You get that advice from the doctor, docere, to teach, but then you have to have enough self-awareness to be the final say in that. And that's connecting to yourself. Connecting to each other. We are so disconnected. We're very isolated in many ways. We don't spend as much time with our family, with our friends, and things like rejection, isolation, and loneliness, feeling left out. These are all things that affect our physiology. And so that love amongst each other, whether it's, harm between people in a workspace or a family unit, these things affect us in physiological ways. And then the third aspect of it is connecting back to nature.
Mm.
We are as integral of a part of nature as your thyroid is to the rest of your body, right?
Mm.
We can't separate ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
And we kind of just taken ourselves out of the equation. We're indoor all day in moderate temperature, from our house to our car to our place of work or school. We're rarely outside breathing the natural compounds in the air that we're supposed to. We're barely touching the earth. And every cell in our body has a clock, every cell. And it's not enough to just to put the orange glasses on, Doni, as you know. Our bodies have light receptors, not just our eyes. So we're trying to hack ways to health and longevity, and at our own expense. There is no way to trick nature. We have to live and reconnect into that, what I call the source of love. So that's what the Love is Medicine project is. It's a journey that I decided to take when I was experiencing symptoms again, even when I felt like I was doing everything right.
No, I love that. I mean, I think it's so important to kind of bring our awareness to these things, because you're right. We a lot of times we're racing through the day. You and I were saying, how did 15 years go by? So even though we're in this naturopathic world on a daily basis, even for us, sometimes just the time races by. And I know you were mentioning that the doctor said you wouldn't be able to have kids, but I know you have 2 daughters. So, and being a parent and having a business and doing all the things we have to do each day, sometimes the day just races by. And if we're not paying attention, like you're saying, if we're not paying attention to the signals our body is giving us, or maybe when we do have a symptom, we end up being hard on ourselves. Why is this happening to me? Why, so then that's kind of like the opposite of self-love, right? It's this self-criticism of why can't I, it seems like everybody else is out there getting through a really busy day and feeling fine. Why am I not feeling fine? Why is this happening to me? And it becomes a vicious cycle, right? Where it's then that sort of being hard on ourselves or self-criticism then ends up creating more stress and more symptoms and more isolation from others. And so a lot of times, I found myself there times too, where it's like, why am I here all by myself without self-love, without love in a community? And sometimes it just feels that way. We kind of lose track. And when we think about it, we go, oh, actually, there's all these people I could reach out to, for support. And there's ways that I can just talk differently to myself or have an awareness for myself. And all of a sudden it just shifts, right? It's just it really is a matter of a slight shift. It seems like it would be difficult to shift it, but it doesn't have to be. Or tell me what you think about that. Like, how do we shift that pattern?
Yeah. And I think we're looking for like a hard scientific answer. And there is a bunch of science, and we share that in the Love is Medicine project, of course, and you're part of that. But it's kind of a return back to the truth of who we are. And it's doing simple things like, if you have a busy schedule, then that means you need to get one of your clients is yourself. Right? One of your clients is yourself. Or one of your clients is your time that you read to your children. I think there are a lot of lies we tell ourselves, like quality over quantity. That's not really reality when it comes to nurturing yourself, relationships with your spouse, your lover, your partner, your children. Like, no, quantity and quality matters. Quantity of sleep matters and quality of sleep. The quantity of food and the quality. So we tell ourselves these lies, or we say like everything in moderation. But what happens there is like the bar keeps getting higher. Like if you think about watching television, right? When I was growing up in the early 80s, television turned off at a certain time at night. So moderation in watching television was a certain place. Now there's a zillion channels on 24 hours a day. So moderation might be watching or being online for hours a day. So I think it's just getting back to who we are, being really thoughtful and getting back into our bodies. We spend so much time, as you're saying, Doni, rushing through our life. We spend so much time in our head, and we forget about the rest of our body that's connected to it. And we do it at our own demise. We don't listen.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things I taught myself to do are these little like self-awareness check-ins where
Mm-hmm.
I pay attention instead of like closing my eyes and going deep within and breathing deep. That's good, but that's not how I move through my day. So I would set my phone, and now I do it automatically, and I'd say, okay, what's going on right now?
Mm-hmm.
What am I feeling? Like, what is the temperature like? What is the lighting like in here? Have I not been outside enough? I have to pee, and I've been holding it because I've had client after client. Is my prostate digging into my side? Like, these seem like simple things, but when you train yourself to stop and pay attention to these subtle issues, then what happens is you start to pay attention to the bigger issues and just the big changes that you need to reconnect those different areas.
Oh, I love that. And I'm sure everybody can relate to those examples that you gave. You know, you start to realize that you've been kind of delaying yourself, procrastinating, taking care of yourself just to get through one more thing. And I think we really do feel like we're supposed to be able to do that. And I don't think I think that's a myth too, right? Like, we're not supposed to be able to ignore ourselves and get through a big task list. What should be is we're just like you said, we're part of nature. And just like a plant, it needs water, it needs food, it needs light. And when you start to think of yourself that way, like you're saying, you start to go, hey, I need a little check-in time. Maybe it's every 30 minutes or every 60 minutes to just be like, hey, what do I need in my environment and in my body in order to be able to maintain at a really optimal level? And then, and to not be hard on yourself if you realize, oh my gosh, I've been denying myself this all this time. Use it more as a curiosity and sort of learning experience and go, oh, okay, that means that maybe tomorrow when I set up my schedule, I'm going to schedule the meeting slightly differently, or I'm going to, mention that I need to build in breaks so that I can be sure that it happens. I like how you said almost make yourself your own client. Like, sometimes I have talked about that with patients. Sometimes it's just say, put yourself in your schedule, like sometimes we actually have to kind of trick ourselves into it, right? Set a little reminder or actually put yourself in the calendar so that those moments can happen. And sometimes I think it seems like it has to be a big, like you're like, well, how am I going to do that? I have so much stuff to do. I don't have time. But it doesn't have to be 4 hours or anything like that. It can be 30 seconds that can make a big difference. Would you say?
Yeah. And I think that once you get used to those 30 seconds and you can blend that into a time that's more rational, because we have to remember it was the Industrial Revolution that set this new time clock for us that really isn't what nature intended. And we can't go back in time, right? We can't go back in time. But with the dawn, like we used to work, miners would take lanterns, but we used to work from, daylight till dusk. And that work included, our real work and then like preparing food and things like that. That's another way we become disconnected from nature. I mean, there's a reason why food has color and texture and scent. And there's a reason why our bodies have receptors for all that. And I believe a very important part of nutrition is that interaction between self and preparing the food. And that is something we've totally deprived ourselves of. I think you're right. When you can take 30 seconds to start, then you can start realizing how good it feels. And it becomes like a good addiction to take care of yourself.
Oh, I like that. Yeah. Be willing to allow yourself to get addicted to paying attention to the signals your body's giving you and then giving your body what it needs. And thinking about it as love is really beautiful, because I think it's something that we know we need is love, and we look for it in different ways. So a lot of times we're looking to receive love from someone else. And yet that a lot of times leaves people feeling like they don't have enough or they don't have what they need. When if we can start to have this awareness and acceptance of ourselves as humans who in part of nature and acceptance of the signals our body's giving us, then it can be this different experience of love that maybe people haven't had before.
Yeah, and we've just kind of trained ourselves away from it. we might have talked about this before, but I think about animals. So it's, animals live in their habitat unless they're put in, nature, put in like a zoo or a factory farm or something like that, right? Mm-hmm. In nature, animals rely on their instinct. And when they are taken out of that wilderness, they lose a lot of that instinct. And I think that's happened with us. And we are all very intuitive. And when we are constantly distracting ourselds by scrolling and swiping and watching and looking away from what our real needs are, our need to connect, our need to rest, our need to care for ourselves, our need to relate to each other, our need to move and be moved. You're not really I think that's why some websites, they have like these, beautiful inspirational quotes and stuff go wild because people are looking to be moved, and being moved is really important for functional connectivity and your vagus nerve and all sorts of things. But this is not real. Your life is all around you right now, and that's what is real. And when you start connecting back into that, what I found is I started really increasing my intuition and realized intuition wasn't something that just other people had. Like I had it too, and you have it, and everyone has it. One of the things I did is I started this journal of every time I messed up my intuition, meaning every time that I thought to myself, oh, I knew it, I should have listened, I knew I shouldn't have done this deal, I knew I shouldn't have partnered up with this person, I knew I shouldn't have gone on a second date, I knew I shouldn't have eaten that, I knew I should have taken a different route to this location. Every time I started taking note of that, and it sounds like it might be something negative, but what it did is it built this body of evidence of every time my intuition was speaking to me.
You started realizing it's there a lot of the time. And of course, we know that we can even look at the science of the brain and how our brain is knowing what we want and finding it for us. And we call that intuition, right? But learning to kind of have an awareness for it and trust it is a different thing. And a lot of times we doubt it, but how awesome that you're bringing attention to it and noticing, oh, here's the times when my brain identified what I wanted and I ended up not choosing it. What the heck? I'm blocking myself from getting where I'm trying to go.
Yeah. And not just in our brains, our whole body, because brains are inside our whole body. Yes. And we have our nervous system and we have, I call them the three hearts. So I call it heart in your head because because it's an organ of emotion and learning and memory. Your heart and your chest, the same thing. Heart math research. They say that the heart receives information and gives information to your brain and other parts of your body. And in your gut, you know so much about the gut health and the enteric nervous system. So we know that we're taking in all this data from all our senses. And there's senses that we don't know so much about, but research is really bringing up. Like we have olfactory receptors in our kidneys.
Something a lot of people don't know is that too much stress can actually create an abundance of health problems like high blood pressure, high blood sugar, anxiety, migraines, insomnia, even fertility issues. This is because high stress puts your adrenal glands on overload. They release cortisol and adrenaline, which controls your digestion, hormones, immune system, energy, focus, and even your emotional response. So how can you beat stress when you don't know where to start? That's why we have a free 7-day stress reset program. It's designed to help support weight loss, digestive healing, and hormone balancing. It includes support for integrating self-care, daily tips come to you by email and video, gluten-free, dairy-free meal plans, as well as grocery shopping lists, journal pages, and more. This free program will help you beat stress and put you on the path to wholeness in your body. Get your plan now for free at drdoni.com.
Isn't that something? I really think there is so much we don't realize because it feels invisible to us. We can't see our kidneys or we can't see it. So we're used to only trusting something we can see. But I love this point of how all of these interconnected systems in our body are perceiving and giving us information. We just have to be ready to hear it from them, notice it, and respond to it.
Sight is just one. What, do you tell a blind person that everything that they can't see doesn't exist? I mean, absolutely not. You know,
right?
Sight is just one way. And our sight can do so much more for us than we realize. You know, animals, when they migrate, they have a magnetic sense called magnetoception, where they can detect electromagnetic fields. And it's thought that it has a lot to do with migration. Well, there has been research that shows humans have a similar cryptochrome.
Wow.
So what does this mean? What does this mean for research when people feel like they're in the right place at the right time, or they feel at home at certain places, or they can tell when they're being stared at? Right? Research, bodies of research about this, about dogs knowing, like Rupert Sheldrake wrote a book called Dogs Who Know when their owners are coming home. And they tested, they had dogs in other people's cars, they had other dogs, they had other people, they had different types of vehicles, and the dogs time and time again knew when it was their, so there's
my dog does that.
Really?
Yeah, she does. I can see when she knows certain cars even before we can see it. Like it's just coming down the road, and she definitely knows the UPS truck too. So but she knows her response right away, to the vehicle, and to think, oh, we have that ability too.
Yeah, well, animals haven't been duped by commerce and into just relying on their sense of sight. Dogs have never had to evolve that way, so they use all of their senses. And we have chemosensing, which, animals, it's been tested too. I think it's called like biotherapeutics or something, where, animals can sometimes sniff a cancer, smell cancer, because the cells are replicating differently. And animals, and we know from rat studies, there were studies where rats are isolated for several generations, and they haven't seen any predators or any other mice or rats or anything. And then when they introduce the scent of the predator, let's say it's just a little dropper, that rat would have a fearful posturing.
Wow.
I mean, so there's chemical senses that we take in that give us information. Those rats could tell if it was a predator or not, if it was male or female, if it was fertile or not. So we're taking in all this information, and it is part of our intuition, and we can strengthen that, and we can use that as part of love from nature and how we can love ourselves.
I love that. It's so fun to, I know, Razi, that you read so much research, and I love how here you are as someone who's just passionate about the information. You read the research, and then you see, hey, this is how we can apply this to our life for our benefit. And that's exactly what I hear you doing here, is you're like, hey, what can we learn from animals that's got to be the same for us? And how can we then, but it takes that initial commitment, I think, or that intention that, like, I want to do whatever I can and understand my body any way that I can to benefit my health, which will also benefit my family, right? So you're already starting from that place. And then from there, you're like, wow, I just found out this and this and this, and such curiosity that you start to go, wow, what can I do? And you're so willing to look at yourself and say, what can I do differently based on this information? Which I think is just so beautiful, because I think sometimes we get too busy or too afraid or to make changes, or what is someone else going to think if I try this or say this? And you don't seem stopped by that. You're just like, this is where I am and what I'm doing, and I'm going to just take this information and learn from it and study myself.
I think it's because I know I'm not an expert. Like, this has been a journey for me. This has been a journey to heal areas of my life, past or recent past. I like I like to say, and part of the Love is Medicine project is, and this as a doctor, healing isn't where you just, oh, we're here, we park, and we get out. It's like things happen in life. Just June, when I was interviewing some experts for the Love is Medicine project, I had 22 days of migraines. like horrible,
What? Oh my gosh.
migraines. And it was devastating. The pain woke me up at night, and I was feeling like a total hypocrite. Like, here I am in this project helping people learn how to heal, and I'm starting to crumble again. But it was such a gift because I realized, wow, I have unplugged from some of these things. I was putting all my time in work and in a project, and I had started to slowly peel back from spending every morning in my garden and grounding, from my morning rituals, from spending more time reading to my kids at night, to spending more time preparing the meal, doing things quick. And it was, those pains were a message. They were a love letter.
Wow.
Get back on track. So
to think about that, to think of pain as a love letter. I know what you know that I have a history of migraines too. 25 years of migraines. And I love how you're saying, like, and I think that's what I did too, is like, hey, if I'm getting migraines, there's a reason. Let me look at what are these, I like how you say, love letters from my body that are telling me what is it that's missing? What is it that I can do differently that could prevent the migraine? Good for you.
Well, thanks. I mean, like I said, it's a journey. And I just, this isn't my day job, right? Publishing the journal is my day job. We're just relaunching the International Journal of Naturopathic Medicine.
Wow.
The programs we're building. But this started as just like, it was feeding my soul to research how have my relationships impacted my physiology? How have my relationships to myself impacted my physiology? How has my or lack of impacted my physiology? So I started writing and blogging about it. Then I started podcasting about it and realizing that other people can go on this journey with me. And I owe a lot of the insight to what I've learned from naturopathic doctors, from the philosophy.
I think, this has got to feel very inspiring to everyone who's listening, to just really see how you take it and implement and you live this, as and even as you're working on this project, you're learning from the experience. And I think that's true. We tend to learn when we're in a challenge. I know for me, when I was working on writing a book about natural insomnia solutions, I found myself having to look at my sleep patterns, and go, if I'm working on this, I need to see what I'm doing with my sleep. And actually finishing that book really helped me shift my relationship with sleep. I realized that I was one of those people who tended to just stay up late because I felt like I needed to get certain projects done. And so I would end up with fewer hours of sleep. And because I wasn't really valuing those hours of sleep enough. And so when in writing the book, I realized, oh my gosh, so much happens when we're sleeping. It's essential. It's not like you just go to sleep and nothing's happening. When we sleep, our brains are healing and our body's repairing and our hormones are resetting. And if we don't get those hours of sleep, it seems like we're laying there doing nothing, but actually so much is going on. It's essential, and it's our way for our body to recover. And so really, right. So I know what you mean when you're working on a project and it almost brings it to a head for you, where now you have to look at yourself and go, if I'm going to do this project or write this book, I actually need to look at how am I implementing this for myself and how that can, how that can actually shift things for my own health, which is so awesome.
I like what you're saying about sleep, because I think of, I love gardening and I love fruit trees. And when trees are dormant, they look kind of bare and they look like nothing's happening. But if your trees don't have the right amount of dormancy, or they don't have the proper temperature, like they don't have enough chill hours, that tree isn't going to set fruit.
Wow. Right. It just shows you we need that. We need that and it's this balance, right? It's like, if we want the productivity during the day or the fruit season, we have to have the rest and recovery time. Well, tell us just a little bit about, with the Love is Medicine project, what should they expect when they're watching? When can they watch? How does all that work?
Okay. So it starts, it's live and it's free, 7-day journey to sort of get back to these 3 areas of love and self-connection. And so it starts September 16th.
Okay.
16th through the 23rd, and it's free. So everyone can go there and RSVP at the Love is Medicine Project. And you're probably going to put a link here.
Yes. Yes.
You can use your link.
Yes, I'll put a link so you can sign up and reserve your spot. Totally.
Yeah. And so the first episode is called It's Not All in Your Head. And it's that's kind of like a double entendre for me, because I had, and many people that had chronic illness have been told that it's all in their head, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's about getting back into your body. And we start there talking about the messages from your body, how to pay heed to them. Many experts give clues and ideas and practices how you can do that. Then the next episode, we talk about how we get sick and how we heal, because we conventionally think that we don't know how this happens, but it's not random. How, when they say in research, 90 to 95% of cancer is caused by environment and lifestyle, nobody pauses to think, well, probably naturopaths do, but what is lifestyle? It's how you style your life, how you move through every moment. It's not okay, I don't smoke, I have a good lifestyle, or it's not that. It's about every second. It's a mathematical equation, Doni, that every moment of your life you have a decision to make, and how you choose love or not love matters. And we talk about healing the past and healing the future. So we talk about trauma and how that causes disease, but we don't leave it just hanging there. We talk about ways to overcome that. And we talk about self-love and love for others, exploring how relationships, intimacy, friendship, social connection, how that helps. And then the self. One of the things I love is Charlie Crockley, and one of his things is talking about honesty and how being honest with yourself is really powerful medicine, because sometimes it's when for those of us who had parents, when your 2-year-old goes like this, they think no one can see them.
Yeah.
We do that to ourselves. We think if nobody can watch us, if nobody can see the fact that I haven't exercised or I haven't slept right, then maybe it doesn't really exist. But you can't really lie to yourself, right? Your body is always going to respond. And then we move into the wisdom of the body and talking about the truth about symptoms and how we shouldn't suppress symptoms. And we talk about intuition. And then at the end, we just kind of bring it all together with how to kind of move forward now in a new place. So there are lots of practical ideas from experts like you and many others, but what's unique about it is it doesn't say this is what you're going to eat. And in fact, I made sure I left all that out of that. It's you, with your care providers and people that matter to you, you decide what's right.
Yeah.
Journey. And I'm really excited. I would just really, from the bottom of my heart, like to invite anyone listening to join us, Doni, because I think that it's just a small and powerful shift we need to make. This whole idea of hacking and thinking we're going to get healthy by somehow hacking nature, hacking our health. That's just not really the laws of nature. So we can just go back to this more feminine and nurturing aspect of love that's all around us and tapping into that so we can heal.
Oh my gosh, I was so glad to be so grateful to be part of the project. So I can't wait to see all of it. Also, what a creation you've made. And also, it really sounds to me like it's such a foundational piece, especially for people who maybe have felt like they tried to help their health, but then maybe they feel like they're on the wagon or off the wagon, or they can't quite, maybe they feel like they keep searching for this one right piece of information and they just can't quite get it all to come together. Yeah. It sounds to me like what this whole series of videos could do is help people to, instead of looking for something outside or trying to fit a certain mold, it's more about how can I know myself and what my body needs? Because from that place, you can figure out the details of your diet or your vitamins or whatever, but you're starting from knowing your body and yourself. So it brings you to a center place start from.
I love that. And I've been getting messages from doctors who are saying, hey, I'm going to schedule a watch party with my patients, or they're sharing it with their patients, because it's going to help their patients comply and stick to the plan that they put together with their doctor or with their health.
Yeah, because you're actually choosing for yourself instead of choosing for some external thing. It's like how to do, and I really find that makes a difference for people, that feeling of, hey, I accept myself. I accept that I can get information about what my body needs, and then I can choose it. Like you're saying, choose it in each moment and learn along the way with this sense of not conditionality, like acceptance and love, which is actually just a whole different pathway that is much more likely to be successful.
And like, we can't hack. We live in a world that there is cause and effect, right? Chemistry everywhere. Our lives are the same. So, there are, who was it? Was it Bruce Lipton that says there are no side effects, only effects? That's true with anything. For a walk, you smoke a cigarette, you don't forgive someone, whatever you do, there is going to be an effect. And if we're really not just mindful, but in our whole bodies as we move through all of these decisions that we have as humans, they'll just add up. And I'm saying about, like, it's more the intrinsic motivation instead of just somebody telling somebody what they have to do. Then you're not connected to it.
Yeah, that's such a, oh my gosh, I'm very excited. I think it really, there's a lot of people who have been probably looking for this information, and you're putting it together for them to be able to access. So thank you for doing that. And thank you for this conversation. I'll definitely be sharing this with everyone that I can, and the link to sign up. And I just can't wait. So thank you, Razi.
Thanks for listening to How Humans Heal. If you liked this episode, leave a rating and a review. And for more resources, visit drdoni.com.